So what we discussed, the dictionary is created in something like this, inside this curly brackets. Now sets are also created inside this curly brackets and dictionary also created inside this. But now dictionary is different from a set in a way that there will be a pair. When we have created a set, we have set the values 10, 20, 30, something like this. This was our set. Now in dictionary, we say that we don't have a single value. We will always have a pair of the values, like you can notice it. And in this pair, the first thing is called a key. And the second thing is called a value. What is important for us is this value. This is the data that we want to access and that we want to store. But to access this data, I can't store it directly inside a dictionary. I have to use its key. Now, what is the purpose of doing such a thing? Because we are adding two values. We are having two data just to store one value. What is the importance of this? The importance of this is that you don't have to search their index value to do accessing of the data, to do slicing of the data. You don't have to search for their index value. You can simply search for their key and you will be able to access the value related to that key. And keys are very easily visible to us. So we have created this first dictionary yesterday, and this is how it looks like. And if we take a look at it, this is what we were talking about. And inside dictionary, I told you that you can have multiple things. You can have a key and a value, a simple key value, a key simple value, a key, and in the value, you can have a list, a complete list. And after that, when you have a key as a skill, you can have a value in like a dictionary. That is all things we saw. Now, after this, what we were discussing, that how do we access the data from a dictionary? To access the data from a dictionary, what we have is we use these keys to access the data. Whatever value you want to access, search for their key. So in this scenario, we notice that, let's say I have to access this particular data. If I have to access this particular data, I have to search for this key. The key for this data is the roles. So we have written this thing, the name of the data, and inside the square brackets, the key, and we were able to access the data. Likewise, we saw that we can do double indexing and all the things we talked about yesterday. Also, we talked about how to add and modify elements inside of the list. We talked about this. And after adding and modifying elements, if we want to remove or delete elements, how do we do that? We talked about that also. In this regard, we had .pop item. This del keyword was there, and also this .clear was there. These were the things we discussed. Now there are few things left in dictionary. I'll discuss that quickly. And after that, we will start to understand the conditional statements today. Okay, so conditional statement we'll discuss. Before that, let me talk about what are some dictionary methods that you'll be using. There are many of them, but few of them which are frequently used, I'll show that to you. So first thing is we have our profile. This was our dictionary that we were talking about. If I have to create a copy of this dictionary, we have a simple thing related that we have. This is called a method. What are methods? I'll explain them properly. This is an object-oriented concept that we'll be talking about after a few sessions. But just understand that there are some methods in dictionary that help us do something. What is that something? Let's see. So if I have to make a profile copy, profile is a dictionary that is available to us. I want to make a copy of that. So I'll just say profile.copy. And once I've done this, what will I notice? Profile copy. Okay, this is the thing. The same data has been put here also. That is a copy of that. So a separate data has been created by taking a copy of this data that we have. This is how you can make a copy. And whatever we write here, we have written the name of the dictionary. This is our data and dot something. Whenever we write dot something, these are called methods. So when we write profile.clear, it looks very similar to dot copy. This is called a method. What is this method? How they are created? We'll talk about that very properly. This is a very interesting concept in object-oriented. So we'll discuss about that. So first is this dot copy, the first method in dictionary. What is the next method in dictionary? Let's see, profile dot items. When we check profile dot items, we will get a list of all the pairs. Whatever pairs are there in the dictionary, you can see we'll get a list of all the pairs. Now, what are we getting? We have a list here. Inside, multiple tuples are there. So now, if you notice this, there is something like this created, a list. Inside that, there are multiple tuples. What is there inside the tuple? Inside the tuple, we have our key, our value, a key, value, key, value, key, value. All the things are there inside the tuple, inside the list. Now, this is the thing. If you want to get all the items here of the dictionary, this is what you do. What is the purpose of getting this item? We'll talk about that. But for now, the next thing is here, profile.keys. If you want to get list of all the keys, why you want to have the list of the keys? Because you want to access the data related to these keys. So once I know this, that these are the keys available, what I can do here, I can say profile and roles. What will I get? This was the key. How do I know this key? I could have gone to the dictionary and I could have looked it here. But instead, I just printed those keys here. And I said profile.keys, tell me all the keys which are there in the dictionary. And I can easily use that for accessing the data. So these are dot keys. And after that, the last one you'll notice is profile.values. This is the values. Whatever values are there, this is the first value, second value, third value, fourth value. These are the values we have got. These are few of the methods that is provided by the dictionary for us to do something. Correct? So first we have created a copy of the dictionary using dot copy. Then we checked all the items. Then we checked all the keys of the dictionary. And then we checked all the values of the dictionary, whichever are there. Now here we have completed the concept of dictionary. In dictionary, there is one thing left that is called dictionary comprehension. Okay, dictionary comprehension. But we'll talk about this dictionary comprehension in further classes. After explaining you the loops concept, I'll talk about this. So now, this was the dictionary. I've shared you the file yesterday. And for those who have joined just today, I'll share this thing with you. If you want access to the videos, you can ask me that at the end of the file. This session, I'll share you that also. You can go through it. Now, we'll start a new topic that will be called conditional statements. What are conditional statements? So conditional statements are something like this. They are written using if and else keyword. These are the two keywords we use, if and else, to do something in the programming. So here we have what we do basically with if and else. Till now, we have been writing some statements. We have been writing some code that does something. So now let's say I want to have a print statement. Print is there and I want to print a message. Whatever can be that message, but I want to print this message. Now this message I don't want to print directly. I want it to be dependent upon a condition. Correct? What we will write here, if something happens, then do this. Okay? Else, if this thing does not happen, then go to else and do this. We are going to have conditions. Based on those conditions, we'll run some statement. We'll not run the statements directly. That is what we do in conditional statements. Now, what we write here, whatever we have to write here, this will be a condition. And for writing those conditions, we require these operators. So operators we have discussed in the first session itself in the introduction to Python. But let me give you a walkthrough of all the operators which are there that is going to be used. Let me walk you through that. So in operators, there are few type of operators that we use, and they have multiple things that they do. They help us write something. The first type of operator are called arithmetic operators. What do we have in arithmetic operators? In arithmetic operators, we have these symbols. We have plus, minus, star, division, this modulus operator, floor, and exponential operator. These are our arithmetic operations. What they will do, you understand what is plus, minus, star, and division going to do. What is modulo operator? What is floor division? What is exponential? We will talk about that once we write our condition. But we have already talked about that. So those who have attended the previous one, you'll know. Now, after arithmetic operator, there is second type of operator, which is called comparison operator. How the comparison operators are written? The comparison operators are this: double equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, and less than equal to. So now, let's say we have taken a number by saying input. We tell to the user that input a number. We take a number and we check if that number is greater than 10. Okay, we have used this comparison operator. We say if the number is greater than 10, do this. We'll write some logic here. We'll write a bunch of statements that will be performed only when the number is greater than 10. How we have got this number? It's a variable whose value will be given by the user. So this is a statement. This is a condition we have just put up. And for these conditions, these operators are going to be very useful. So at the place of greater than, we can use less than also, greater than equal to also, less than equal to, not equal to, double equal to. These are conditional operators. Comparison. Sorry. After comparison, we have another one which is called logical. So in logical, we have two things. Let me show. So again, you take input from the user, number. Let's say they have given 10 as the input. So what will you write now? You will write if, and then there will be something. You say if num is greater than 15. Or we can write if num is greater than 5. And what we mentioned, we can have second condition combined together. We can say if num is greater than 5 and num is less than 15. Then do this. So what is this logical operator going to do? It will help us combine multiple conditions together. We can combine 2 conditions, 3 conditions together to do some tasks. And this is also an example we'll notice. So in logical operator, we have and, or, and not. These three keywords. After logical operator, there are some assignment operators. Assignment operators we have also seen. What we have seen in this case. So in this case, we have seen there is something called as this. Num is equal to 10. There is equal to. What is this is equal to do? It's a simple assignment operator that we are assigning this number 10 to this variable num. Then the next ones are, if you want to do num is equal to num plus 10. You want to add to the number and you want to replace the data. So this same thing you can write like this. Num plus is equal to 10. This same statement can be written as this. And this is the work of assignment operators. We have talked about this also. Just to give you a brief that where we have seen it, this is that concept. After assignment operator, there are 2 special ones. One is called identity operator, which is and is not. And after identity operator, we have membership operator, where it is in and not in. Correct? So we'll talk about these things. We are going to use that for writing our conditions. Let's move forward to the conditional statements now. I'm not going to depth of that because we have already discussed, and you can go to the first session video. You'll get the idea. Now, let's properly understand these things. What does this conditional statement mean? I have given you some brief that in this conditional statement, you will be using these 3 keywords: if, else, and elif. In some programming languages, it is written else if. but in Python it will be written elif. So what we do, we just take something and we write if condition. Inside if, there will be a bracket after it. What is this bracket? There will be a test expression. What is this test expression? We will write something that will be tested. If this thing is true, if this thing is working fine, then the code inside this conditional statement will run. Otherwise, this statement will not run. So we have to test an expression here. After this, we want to write an else also. Let's say we have written a test expression here, and this does not turn out to be true. It does not turn out to be a correct condition. So what will happen? This thing will not run. If this thing does not run, I want to print an alternate statement instead of this. So that alternate statement is written inside this keyword else. Now, there is another one which is called elif. The elif is going to come in between of if and else. We have if, then else. So elif can be written inside that, between both of these conditions. And with this elif keyword, we can have multiple conditions here. One condition we write in this if, the final condition we write in else, and multiple conditions we can write with multiple elif statements. Okay, we can have multiple elif statements in middle. We'll see one by one how those conditions will look like with different examples. Okay, so this is the case. Now let's understand the flow of this. How is this program going to flow now? So earlier, what we were doing, our program was sequential. We had one line of code. We have second line of code. We had third line of code. It was properly sequential. If I have written 3 lines of code, they will run one by one. First, this line is going to run. Then automatically it will go to the second line. It will run the second code. Then it will go to the third line. It will run the third code. So our program was sequential till now. But I don't want it to be sequential. I want it to be twisted a little. That something needs to be done based on a condition. Now, how is it going to look like? Instead of running everything sequentially, we'll have a flow chart like this. It is represented like this, the if conditions. What happens in here? So here, our program starts. The first line it says, it goes to the first line. It is doing something. But then again, in the middle of the program somewhere, there is a if condition written. Inside if condition, what we do, we have a test expression which is mentioned inside this this box, this diamond box. What is this text expression? The test expression is the same thing I was discussing. Num is greater than 10. If this is a test expression. If this is true, do this. What will happen? We will go inside the body of it and we'll do something. If this does not happen, if this test expression turned out to be false, then we'll take an alternate route and we will do something else. Or if we don't want to do something else, we'll simply exit the if condition. We'll come out of that conditional statement. So let me show you the code, then you'll understand a little bit more properly. Let's see the example of it. Now, what we do here, we say num is equal to int input. I have said to you that when you run input, you take input from the user, but that input is going to be by default in string format. That is how input works. So if you're taking a number, you have to forcefully convert that into integer like this. So I've said int input, and we say to the user, enter a number. This is a message that will be shown to the user. I run this now, and let's say I get 8. What we will do now with this number, we'll write a conditional statement. If number is greater than 5, print you entered a number greater than 5. It's a message that I want to print. And when this should be printed, only if this condition is met. So it is working like a roadblock. If you remove the roadblock, then you will be able to see this print statement. Then only you can run this thing. If I run this, you can notice we have got the print statement. But again, now let me take another route and I will say here 3. It has been entered 3. Now when I run the cell again, what has happened? Nothing happened. Why nothing happened? Because our condition failed at this point. We are writing this. Now, whatever we have written here, you need to understand some things. What is something you need to understand? If you look at other programming languages, this if condition is written like this. You have if, then there will be a bracket. Inside this bracket, you write these conditions. Then outside, you will make a flower bracket. And inside, you will write your print statements. Whatever print statement you want to have. But in Python, what happens? There is something called as indentation. There is a concept of indentation, which is very important in Python. What happens here? You can see here, I have written if this condition, then there is a colon I put up. After colon, when I press enter, it automatically has a space. It automatically has some indentation. It is shifting to the right side. How much? 4 spaces. By default, it is shifting to the right side. Now, when you write Python programming, these things you are going to notice happening automatically in many of the environments, many of the softwares that you use to write programming. So this is the thing. What happens here? If you want to write multiple statements, statement 1, print, statement 3. What are these? I have written now 3 print statements. When they will be printed? Only if this condition is true. And how do you know these are all going to be printed? Because you notice they are all in a proper indentation. They are all in a proper line. So whatever belongs here in this indentation, they all are called body of if. This is called a body of if. If I want something to be outside of the body of if, they should not be dependent upon this if condition. They should be independent of that. What we write here, how do we do that? I'll just break this indentation. I'll say press enter and press a backspace. You see, I will start writing the next statement from here. And when I write this print statement, outside if condition. Now this thing is not dependent upon if condition. This will be printed anyhow. If this run, if this does not run, no matters, because this print statement is not a part of the body of it. But these 3 statements are a part of the body of it. If I run it now, you'll notice that these 3 did not run. Why these 3 did not run? Because our number was 3 and it failed the condition here. So we never saw the body of it. This will be printed. This is a basic idea about the conditional state. And that is just about the if, what we do inside. Let's do some more modification. What other modifications we can do is this. If number is greater than 5 and number is less than 15, I can use this operator, this logical operator, to write multiple conditions together. And I say print statement 1, print statement 2. We can think of them as a logic that will be printed, and we'll be writing this logical many times after this session. So you see, we have print statement 1, print statement 2. These are to the body of if now. When they will run? When these 2 conditions are met. So what will we have here? Let me run it. And I take a number which is, let's say, 12. I take this and I go to this statement. What will happen? If I run this, both the things have been printed for us, both the statements. What has happened? It has first checked the first condition. Then it checks the second condition. In the case of AND operator, what we have discussed, that this condition should be true, and this condition should also be true for us to go inside the if condition. If any one of them is false, we'll say that it won't run. Let me show you. Now, if I take a number which is, let's say, 20. I've taken a 20. So 20 is a number greater than 5. It fulfills the first criteria. But when you come to the second criteria, it is going to fail. So what will happen? It won't run. In the case of AND, both of them should be working properly. But when I take the same condition and I put it here, and instead of AND, I use the OR operator now. What is the work of OR? It just checks whether one of this is true or not. If one of them is perfectly fine, if one of them is true, it will run that state. It will run the if condition body. See, this is not working, but this is working. This was about the case. So one thing you need to remember, when we have and we are writing two conditions. So whenever you use and, two conditions we are going to write at least. So in this case, the first one should be true, second one should be true, and our output will be true. False and true will get false. We have true and false, we'll have false, and false, obviously false. So our condition when we use AND operator will run only in this first case. In all the other three cases, it is going to fail. When we talk about OR, it is different. We have T and T will be true. If we have T and false, will be true. If we have false and tree, will be true. And false and false, then only it will be false. So OR condition is going to run in three cases. It is going to only not run in the last condition when both of them are not fulfilling the criteria. Otherwise, in three cases, it is going to run. So OR basically cares about only one condition at a time. Now there is a term related to this conditions that we have written, two conditions. That term is called short circuiting. What do we mean by short circuit? Notice this. If I have given a number here, let's say 3, and I'm going to run this if condition. What happens, what Python does and many other programming language, it knows that there is an AND operator used. Both of them should be true, only then this is going to run. What happens here when it checks the first condition, 3. So number is 3. 3 is greater than 5? No, it is not. So as soon as it saw that the first condition has become false, so it does not matter what is this. Is it going to be true? Is it going to be false? It does not matter because we have got one false here. So this if condition is not going to check this at all because you have got one false. Obviously, it is going to fail the condition. So this is called a case of short circuit. It will stop that. Similarly, if we go here and in the case of OR condition, if you say this one is true, one true we have got. What we want in OR, we want just one true. Second one can be false, second one can be true. We don't care about that. So if this is true, then this is going to obviously work. So many times what will happen if can skip this also. Can skip. We have got one true. This is going to run. Okay, so you will hear about this term and you might see this term short circuit being used, and this is that concept. We have talked about if condition. Now we will bring in else condition in this scenario. So let's have that else condition also. If anyone has any confusion, do let me know. But these are very simple things. Let us talk about it. So what we take a variable, candidates, and I say input. And I say enter the number of candidates in the session. we are running a session very similar to this Zoom session, and we want someone to enter the number of candidates that have joined the session. So that should be a number. That is why we need to mention this in. To know more about this, see our previous videos that has been explained very properly. So I take the number of candidates, and we take the number of candidates. We'll say the number of candidates is, let's say, 24. These many people have joined the session as of now. More can join later, more can drop later, but this many people are there in the session as of now. What we can do now, we can say if the candidates is greater than 20. Okay, if the candidate is greater than, sorry, I can say less than 20. Anything, both of the condition you can write first, but first I want to write this. So I will write print welcome to the session, print we will wait for few more minutes to start the session. Okay, and print today we will discuss about conditional statements. I want to give this 3 messages, but I don't want to give this 3 messages directly. It should be based upon some condition. What is the condition I put up? If the candidates are less than 20 in the session, I want at least 20 candidates to be there for me to start the session. I am waiting for that many students. I am expecting that many people. So we have written this. So if this happens, if the candidates are less than 20, what we do, we print this message for the time being. But let's say more than 20 people have joined. What we do in that case now? We'll write else. Else is a condition. Else is a keyword which will do something. Now the thing about else is that you'd never write any condition in else. You won't say that else and inside write a condition that candidates are greater than or equal to 20. You won't have to write any condition, and you never write the condition inside this else. What will happen if this thing is not running? If the condition you have written here won't run, automatically it will come to the else, and whatever is there, it is going to run automatically. Now see, I will say we have got enough people in this session. We will start. Okay, we'll start. This is a message I want to print. How many people are there in the session? 24. So let's see what has been printed. This else part has been printed, not the if part. Let me run this here, and I say 15. Only 15 people have joined as of now. What will happen? It will go to the if condition now. First, we need to understand the flow of the program. Because in this case, the flow of the program is everything. I have told you that Python is an interpreted language or dynamically typed language. What happens in that? The statements run one by one. So first, if you have first statement, it will run. Then automatically it will be transferred to the second statement. Then from second, it will be transferred to third. From third, it will be transferred to fourth. This is the way it runs. And this is the way the program is checked when you execute that. So in this case, the first we took the input. After we took the input, it will automatically be transferred to the next line. This is the next line. What happens here? Whenever you have written this if and else conditional statement, every time the first thing that will be checked is if condition. When the if condition is true, when this condition becomes true here, then what will happen? You will go inside now the body of the if. This is all called the body of the if. You'll go inside. If here you get a false, you won't go inside the body of if. Directly you will be taken from here to here. Nothing will happen inside. You will be taken there automatically. So to be taken to else, what should happen? This condition should become false. This should become false. Only then you will be taken to else. But if this condition is true, you will never be taken to else. Correct? You will never be taken to else condition. And you will never see this statement once this is running. That is the thing you need to understand. And take a look at it properly. This is how you write if and else conditional statement. You can have multiple logics written, you can have multiple statement written, and that will execute dependent upon that. Correct? Just take a look. If you have any confusion, do let me know. I think this would be clear. If this is clear, let's talk about the third one, the third keyword, which is called elif condition. What do we do in elif condition? So let's talk about that also. So how do we write elif? First, you will have a if condition. Then you have elif condition. Like this you write. And then at the end, you will have a else condition. Let's say what we have done here, we have checked only one condition here and the final thing here. If this does not run, whatever happens next, go here. I want to check now 5 conditions. 5 conditions like this. What we do, the first condition I write in if. Second condition I write in elif. Third condition I write in elif. Fourth condition I write in elif. And the last one, when none of these things happen, go to else and do whatever is last left. In else, we don't write the condition. So we had total 5 conditions that can be possible for this case. The first one we write in if. Obviously, we start with this. And we can have multiple elif statement to mention multiple middle conditions. And the last one goes into else. How the program flow is going to happen here? See, first it will check this. If when this thing runs, whatever is the body of if, that will be run, and none of this will be checked. Okay, it will simply be ignored. Whatever is there does not matter at all, because our first condition ran and we did the task. When the first one fails, when the first one fails, then we come to the second and we check this elif. If this thing runs, then we don't care about the next 3. Let's say the second also condition fails. Then we come to the third one and we check this now. If this runs, then we neglect both of them. Similarly, if fourth runs, we'll neglect else. But if first 4, any of the things does not run, then the last one is called else. Everything inside the else will automatically run if nothing is running upwards. Let's see with that an example. Okay, let's go through that. So for first, but just let me show you the flow chart of if and else condition. So for if condition, what we have said, just you want to write if, you don't want to include else also. Just for if, what you do, you write if condition. Inside the if condition, there is a test expression. If this is true, you go inside body of if, and you do that task, you exit that. What you exit? You exit from the if condition. If this is false, you exit from the if condition. This is the task you do. No alternate route you have taken. What will alternate route be? So we started if here, we check the condition. If this is true, we go to body of if. We run that and we exit the state. We exit from the if condition. If this is not true, we go to the body of else. We run the body of else, then we exit the code from there. So this is an alternate route we have taken, an alternate statement we have printed based on that condition. So we have checked the example of that. Now we are going to talk about elif. What happens in elif? See, we start if here. We check the expression of if. If this is true, we'll go to body of if and we will do that task. We'll simply exit. If this does not run, we will now go to elif expression. If elif expression is true, we'll run the body of elif we'll exit. If this is also not true, the last one is left is else. We'll go to the body of else, execute that statement, we'll exit. And I've explained that same thing with that just few minutes ago. Let's talk about that. So in this case, what we can have, let's say we have a cutoff score. There is a cutoff score for many examinations, that is 35. And scored marks. A candidate who has appeared for any examination, how much they have scored. So we take the input for this. Enter the marks scored by you. We are taking simply the input from that candidate itself into the marks that has been scored by you. And after that, we write some statement. If the scored marks is less than cutoff score, then what we do? We simply say print, sorry, you failed the examination. That is the first statement we show them. What is the next thing we can do? We have another condition, elif. In this elif, we do something. But for elif, I'll have to make one variable. For now, let's just go with else. So in else, what we can say, print hooray, you passed the examination. You passed the examination. This is what we can print the message. That is based upon if and else. Now let's bring another condition. There is another thing which is called distinction score. The first class marks, whether they have got first class marks or not, we need to check that. Distinction score is given above 75. If they have scored 75 or above 75, we'll say that they have scored distinction marks. So what we should do now, we have to check this condition also. Correct? So where do we check that? We will write a middle elif condition. And in elif condition, we have to give a statement. In else, we don't give, but in the if and elif, we have to give the conditions. What we say here, if cutoff, if the scored marks is greater than equal to distinction score. So you can say, congratulations, you did exceptionally well in the examination. You did exceptionally well in the examination. This is the message you can have. And now this is the else. Let's check the messages. If I have 55 here, what will happen? We'll go here and we'll print this else. If I run now with 81, what will happen? It will run the elif condition. And we have here something which is called, let's say 20. With 20 marks, what will it print? Sorry, you failed the examination. So take a look at these outputs now. When I have said 81, how this thing is happening? We have taken 81 and first it is going to if condition. First thing, it is checking whether this thing is true. What is scored marks? It is 81. Is 81 less than 35? No, it is not true. So what will happen? The body of if will not be seen. It will not be executed. So directly you now will be taken to elif condition. In elif condition, we check scored marks is greater than equal to distinction score. So what we are checking, 81 is greater than equal to 75. Correct. If this is correct, then the body of this elif will be printed. for us, and else will be simply ignored because we ran something upwards of. Correct? Now, if I give here 110, then also it is telling us that it ran. Okay, it is working fine. Now, is this correct? Because any examination marks cannot be 110. If I give here now -5, this is also working, but it should not be working for these cases. Correct? It should not be working for that. It should only be working once we have the numbers from 1 to 100. No number less than, no number less than 0, no number greater than 100. So we should filter out those conditions first. Where should we write that? Just make any guesses, where should we have it? We should be having this at the first, before starting our if condition, we should be checking that somehow. Correct? So what I can do now, I can do something like this. I will say something. If this code marks is greater than or equal to 0 and scored marks is less than equal to 100. This is the condition. If this thing happens, then only we should be checking the whole condition. Whatever we have written, whatever logics we have written, it should only work when we have done such a thing. What will I do now? I have just selected that, and I will say to it. Let's run it now. If I say -5, nothing is happening. If I write now 100, this thing worked. If I write now 110, nothing happening. What is happening now here? Why these things are not running? So you have first put up a boundary. What you have done, you have just taken all of these if conditions, if else condition, and before running these things, before even checking all of these conditions, you have to first fulfill this criteria. You are putting a roadblock at the first point itself. First, filter out all the vague answers someone can give. So if someone is giving input of negative, or if they are giving some input as more than 100, those are false answers. So obviously you should be filtering that out first. So what we have done, we have just put that first filter. And now we have written if here. If this thing is running, then go to if, elif, and else. What is this called now? We have this if inside of another if. What is this called? It is called nested if condition. Nested if condition. Correct? So if I create a list now, and inside of that I have 10, 20, and I have another list, which is 30, 40. What is this second list called? This is called nested list. Okay, nested list, which means that this is a list which is inside of another list, that is called nested. Similarly, if we have a if condition, which is another if condition, that will be called nested if condition. Correct? So this is what we say here. This is the case of nested if conditions. Correct? And now you can take a look what we have just done here. So is there anything we can have? Is there something we can add more? Now, what we can do, I would say you have to play with this if and elif conditions. You have understood that you can do something like this. Correct? You can do this also, that you can go inside this if, and here also you can start another if condition. There is if Inside that, another if. Inside that, you can have another if. Okay. And you can say this if would be there. I'm not writing anything, but I want you to try. And I put up a else condition inside this also. So you can do all of such a thing if there is a requirement to do such. Now, this was the conditions. What I want you to do, we have just checked some of the conditions. Now, what you have to check these things. So if, let's say, I'll write the conditions. If I have 30 to 39, 35 to 39, we should be giving a message as A. No, sorry, we have pass. If we have 40 to 49, so we should say D. And if we have 50 to 59, so we should be saying C. Yes, C. And if we have 60 to 69, we should be saying B plus. If we have 69 and we have 70 to 79, we should be having B here and B plus. And after that, we have 80 to 89, 80 to 89, and we should have A. Then for 90 to 100, we should say A plus. So we have written what? 35 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, 70, 80 to 89, and 90 to 100. So these are the criteria you have to write down. What we have multiple conditions. Here we check 3 conditions. Now, how many conditions we have to check? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 conditions in total we have to check. What will you do now? You will be taking help of multiple elif statements to do that task. But before running such a thing, you have to put up this condition also, that whatever false things are there, they have to be filtered out first before checking any of these conditions. So take a screenshot as of now and try to do this, try to run this using this if elif statement. For that, once you write those conditions, you'll be having a little bit of practice of those things. Also, I'm preparing the assignments for all of these concepts. Once we complete the loops concept, you'll get proper assignments where you'll be able to do the practice of these things. Correct? So we have discussed, is there anything left? Let me show you some more examples here. We have basically discussed about that, but just for you to get some idea, let me show you some examples. The nested if thing I was talking about, it is written like this. Inside if, you have another if else statement, you have else. Similarly, you can write something like this. Similarly, you can have something like this. Multiple if elif conditions you can write. Don't look at the logics and all the things which are there inside. Just take a look at how these things are flowing. They are going into the right side direction, and these are multiple nestings is happening. So once you have to do such a thing, we have an alternative for doing such a thing. If you're taking a look at these nested conditions, you see that they are moving into the right side, right side, right side. If you try to write 10 conditions by this nesting approach, what will happen? You will be going into very right direction and it will not look better to write that way. So the alternative is to write those same conditions using this elif approach. You say if, elif, elif, else. I'll give this file to you. Take a look at what is this code and take a look at what is this code written, how you have changed the nested if else conditions using this if, elif, else statements. Go through that and you will understand the questions here. And after that, try to write this scenario. Okay, think about all the approaches and try to write this. Tomorrow we'll be talking about loops condition. We have discussed about conditional statement here. Tomorrow we'll talk about loop. In loop, we have while loop and for loop. What they do, we'll discuss about that. What is the syntax of that? We'll discuss about that. What things we can perform, we'll discuss about that. And that was all for today's session. Rest of the things will continue tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining. Join tomorrow. We'll discuss some very interesting things and you're going to like it. If you have not seen the previous videos, let me know. I'll share the link to join all of the previous videos, how you can watch those.